So welcome everyone to this quarter's Welcome to Qgiv New User webinar. This webinar series is intended for new Qgiv clients or for those of you who just need a refresher on some of the basics. So we're so glad you decided to join today, and we hope that this gives you a great starting, kind of jumping off point for getting deeper into the system. Just a little bit of housekeeping before we get started. We are recording this webinar, and you will receive a copy of the recording tomorrow in your email, along with some additional resources that we hope you'll find helpful. And also, please feel free to ask questions. We will be having a live Q&A after the main content. We just ask that if you have a question you want Wendy to answer at the end, please drop that in the Q&A box. You'll find that right next to the chat area in your Zoom window. And if you have sort of general thoughts or just something you want to share during the content, you can drop that in the chat. We'll save that for the chat for general discussion and the Q&A for those questions you want answered. All right, and with that, welcome again, everyone. My name is Kimber Wiggs. I am the Senior Customer Education Coordinator here at Qgiv. I've been with Qgiv for just over 3 years now, and as my title might suggest, my background is in education, and I love opportunities like this where I get to teach Qgiv users how to use the system more effectively. With that, I'll turn it to Wendy to introduce herself. Wendy?
Everybody, I'm Wendy. I am a customer success manager here with Qgiv. I've been with the team for around 5.5 years, and I am very excited today to be able to talk to all of you new users or those of you that need a refresher, because my favorite thing is to help you get the most out of Qgiv. So looking forward to this.
Great. So I'll run through the agenda really quickly, and then I'll toss it over to Wendy to take over. So we're going to start with her showing you a few tips for your general form management, where you find your forms, how to make new forms. Then she'll show you how to adjust your notifications and user permissions, so the right people at your organization are getting access to the right things. We'll touch on some reporting basics, as well as billing and reconciliation. And then we'll take a brief look at the virtual terminal, which is where you'll process offline kind of back-end donations and registrations. And then Wendy will turn it back to me, and I will go over some free resources that are available to you. And then we'll end with the Q&A. So let me stop sharing so Wendy can take over.
Thanks so much, Kimber. So we're going to go ahead and jump right in. Like Kimber mentioned, this is a new user introduction. So what we're going to talk about today are those basics. We want to help you get started. So let's start with logging in. So if we are on our qgiv.com page, you'll notice right up here at the top, you're able to select to log in. From here, you're going to go ahead and add in your email address. That will always be your username. And then we're going to log in. I would mention that you can also actually bookmark this link just to make things a little bit easier. So something to consider there. Once we're logged into our account, what we want to do is from our main dashboard, we're going to talk forms like Kimber mentioned. So I'm going to come over here to my left-hand navigation panel, and I'm going to go to our forms area. From here, you're going to see everything Qgiv that you have set up. So from your standard donation and event forms here, if you have access to peer-to-peer or auction fundraising, or if you're using any fundraising hubs, all of those are found under the forms area. Some of you may have noticed right away that some of these are toggled to active while others are toggled off. What does that mean? You can come here and actually filter your statuses. So we find some clients have hundreds of forms. Some have one form and have been here for a decade. So really, this is going to be up to you and how you want to manage these. Just the way some clients do this is they may have one form set up that houses all of their events. And then they'll set up a separate form for each campaign that they want to use Qgiv for. It's entirely up to you if you want to get into kind of the details of that. reach out to us. One of the things that I'll say many times today is, though this is a new user introduction, just a reminder that your support with Qgiv is unlimited and free. Reach out to us for help. We would love to offer any recommendations. So here on this page, like I mentioned, you can filter to your active or inactive forms, but what is a form? Right? And how are they used within Qgiv? What I've done is I've actually pulled up a couple examples of clients, because forms with Qgiv can be used in a couple different ways, these donation forms. So this client has actually chosen to embed their Qgiv donation form directly on their website. So you're going to see that right up here is their URL. And this is their Qgiv form, which lives directly on their site. Some positives here: it's going to keep donors directly on your webpage. So once they've donated, they can actually click around and see other tabs or pages for your mission. The second option is going to be a landing page option. So it can act almost like as a microsite. Notice we have our donation form here directly on this landing page. And then this organization has added in additional information about their mission and about their organization here. And this is a Qgiv URL. We find some clients use a combination of these. They may keep their standard donation form very simple and embedded on their website, but maybe for their monthly campaigns or events, they'll actually use the landing page option so that they don't have to create a page on their website for each donation form. Again, entirely up to you and how it works for your team. So those are two very different looking pages. Let's talk about how we would create a new campaign with Qgiv. So you'll notice on my active form here, I have the clone form option. That can be a little bit misleading, because that could mean, do I want to make an exact copy? Well, you can, but you don't have to. This is how you're always going to create a new form with Qgiv. So from here, I'm just going to call this my spring campaign. And I'm going to elect to clone both API and analytics here. Why? Because if your team, like your developers, have added on analytics to your form, chances are you're going to want to carry that over to your new campaign. So we're going to go ahead and continue. And this is where you can get specific. So maybe you've set up dedications you're in honor of, in memory of, on a form, and you want to make sure those carry over to the new campaign that you're creating. You can specifically create that or choose that here. You can get really specific on what you want to carry over, or you can carry over nothing. Entirely up to you. So for this one, I'm going to carry over nothing. So we start from scratch. I'll select continue. You'll notice it asked me to clone all user permissions if I want to do that. Notice I don't have any non-admin users here. We'll talk a little bit more about user access later. But we can clone all user permissions, and then it's going to ask me to create a form. Once I do that, I'm going to have immediate access to that form. You'll see I've typed in spring. That brings it up here. If I take a look at what that form looks like now, we're starting from scratch. So many of you, if you haven't made any updates to Qgiv, if you're new to Qgiv, this is what you started out with, right? So in order to actually change that look and feel of your form, we're going to come here to manage our form. And now we're going to be at a form level navigation. So rather than for the overall organization, we're at a form level. So from here, there are many options you can have alongside to make different options available, but let's talk about how we make it pretty too, how we match your branding. We're going to come over here to this green button called Form Builder. And this is going to be everything look and feel for your form. So from here, you're going to notice in our little drop down here, it says donation form. This is that donation form option. So if you were going to embed this on your website, this is what's getting embedded. So also, this is very simple to make edits. Anytime you see a gear wheel, click on it and you can update that verbiage there. Editing top content. You'll see a lot of this. It's just a WYSIWYG editor. So you can come here and make any updates. If you want to add something to the top of your form, that's where you can do that. But how do we make it the right color, right? This blue probably isn't your branding. We have a lot of people on this call. So instead, we're going to come over here to our theme. And once you click here, you can either add your specific code here, or just click on the color and you're all set and it'll make that update. I hope that is not your color. So I'm going to go ahead and change this because that might hurt our eyes. So there we go. We save the page. That's all set for our landing page or for our donation page. But what if we want to use the landing page option that I talked about here? Well, what we're going to do is in our drop down, we're going to go to the landing page. And here you have even more options because you are using it kind of as that microsite. So you can come here and drag and drop to change the layout. See how easy this is? And then you're just going to drag and drop things where you want them. Super simple. This will always blink at you to make sure you save those changes, so it won't let you leave without doing so. So that's kind of the simple getting started with branding your form and making it look like it belongs to you and not just a template. But for now, I'm going to go back to the organization level, because one of the things I mentioned is users. So I may have said with Qgiv, you can have access to unlimited forms and events. You also have access to add unlimited user access. So you're not limited there. I'm going to come down here to our user section. Right now we have one user, and we can see right away that's an admin level user. When we select to add a new user, you're going to add their email address, which, as I mentioned when I logged in, is going to be how they log in. That will be their username. You'll see the required details here, but let's talk about the permissions we want to give really quick. So you can make as many people an account administrator as you like, but keep in mind, those are people that can add and remove packages. So it impacts your pricing. They can change bank accounts, that sort of thing. So some people by default just go in and make everyone an account administrator. Maybe if they're just helping with an event, they don't need all that access. So instead, what you can do is come down here and under user 4, click in that box. Notice you can give access to specific forms, or you can say, I want them to have access to all of my forms and events. I just want to limit what they can see here. So maybe these are, maybe this is someone that is only helping with adding in offline donations through the virtual terminal. So that's all they need access to. So it's really just, and if you hover over each of these, it will tell you exactly what they're getting access to. But this will allow you to get specific access based on their needs. So that's setting up users. After you select to add a new user, they're going to be sent an email, and it will ask them to accept their permissions and set up a password. If you are in the user section of your account and you see people marked pending, that means they never accepted those permissions. So if that happened before today, go ahead and reset that password, and it will resend them that link to accept those permissions, because that expires at midnight. So that's a perfect transition into notifications. Notifications are huge because you need to know what's going on within Qgiv, right? So we see Jennifer is set up as a user here for notifications. So any user that is part of your organization, you can come here and add as a recipient and select that user from the dropdown. But you can also add notifications for those people that may not need to use Qgiv, but they need to be updated. Board members, this happens a lot. There's a big event coming up and they want to know who's registering, who's donating, and you don't need to report on that. You have other things to do. So what you can do is come here and actually add in their name and email and select which notifications they receive. So they get that automatically and take that out of your hands. Also works really well for event coordinators that sometimes that might be a third party where they just need to know those registrations and what's happening rather than having to log into Qgiv. One little extra tip is I have some clients that like to send out, a handwritten note for dedications, that sort of thing. But they have a full team that works on that. They set up a notification here to go to a shared inbox based on notifications received so they can follow up and make sure that they're not doing double work. They're working from that shared email inbox at their organization. So just a little tip there. Now, when we look at notifications, we do not turn all of them on for you because you would not like us very much. If everything's important, nothing's important, right? So we give you the ability to come in here and actually choose what you want to receive. Now, I recommend to every single person on this call, make sure you are set up for notifications and take 5 minutes to make sure you're getting what you need and only what you need. So as you come through here, say for instance, you have a service integration and something happens and that service integration becomes inactive. Sometimes that happens with an update to the API, that sort of thing. You want to be notified right away. Let's make sure we have that notification enabled. Fee billing soon. We talked about those people that may need to know every time a donation comes in for a specific form or event. When we come down here to our donation forms, we can get very specific. See that donation dedication I mentioned? But also, okay, just a donation received. You can decide what it is you need. And then at the very bottom, just don't forget to save your settings. So that's going to be it for notifications at this point. I do want to dive into some simple reporting while we're here as well. So with reporting, you're going to see we have a series of reports set up here that have specific subsets of information with the right filters and fields for that information. So we have a lot of these ready to go for you. By the way, if you have been with Qgiv for over a year and have access to the Giving Essentials package, you will see these advanced statistics report. If you have not and do not have access to Giving Essentials, you won't see those. So if mine looks a little different, that's why. But what I want to talk about is the transactions report. This is kind of my catch-all report. This is where you're going to spend most of your time, probably. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this report to talk through some of the options here. So first we're going to default to today and accepted. I don't have any transactions today. So instead, what I'm going to do is change this to all. And I have 2 accepted transactions, but I also want to show you a couple of other things that you can see here, like declined. I'll actually go ahead and choose all, so we can see a couple different options. So from here, this is a great way to be able to see what's going on kind of at a transaction level. So say, for instance, Jennifer reaches out to me and says, I'm trying to make a donation and it just keeps getting declined. Can you please tell me why? If we look up Jennifer's name here, I can click on this transaction ID. And right up at the top, it's going to give me the reason for that decline. We see a lot of CVV codes or address issues. Maybe they're using their business card and forgot and put in their home address, that sort of thing. So that's where you can kind of direct them to why that is being declined. The other thing is accepted. So I've made this donation and I call in and say, you know what, I didn't mean to make that donation, or I meant to make it for a different amount. Once you pull up the donation, you're going to see refund options here. And that is going to be depending on your merchant processor, by the way. So if you have refund options here, you can come in and do a full or partial refund. You're done. So this is something handy. In case you need to have those refund options available. Also, you can resend that confirmation page, resend an email receipt, or your admin notifications at the transaction level. You can also, you'll see we have an edit button here. Sometimes a donor spells their email address wrong. They reach out and they say, I never got a receipt. Oops, they had an extra space or something. You can always edit here and update that information for them as well. Now, with our reports, you're going to see we have an option here called advanced filtering. This allows you to get very specific on what you pull in a report. So if you want to pull basically for just one specific form, you can do that. You may have noticed as soon as I clicked into my reporting area, see, there are so many things you can filter on. I have the option here to set up a custom report. If you have access to the Giving Essentials package, then you're going to see this option. I highly recommend using it if you find yourself using the same filters over and over again. Maybe you have an event coming up and you're checking on your attendees. Set up a custom report. You'll find it right here. That way you can just download that information rather than using the same filters over and over again. You can also set it to have only the columns you need in that report so you don't have a lot of extra information. Just a little tip there. So that's going to be reporting. Oh, another great thing for custom reports, if you are using Giving Essentials and maybe you work with a third party that we don't directly integrate with, it's a great way to set up a CSV specifically to be able to upload those columns into your third party. So if you want some help with that, let us know, but that's a huge time saver. The next reporting area that I want to dig into is going to be the statements area. Now, statements with Qgiv, it's going to show you everything here that is kind of in real time, basically. So you'll notice in my drop down, I have access to all the months that I've been a client here of Qgiv to be able to get my real-time fees. I can also create a statement here. With Qgiv, all of your transaction fees are billed the beginning of the month for the prior month's activities. That's a mouthful, right? So basically, any activity that happens in April will be billed the beginning of May. You will always be able to see, as a reminder, right here when we expect that debit to happen. Now, what I find very helpful is figuring out where your money is. So we're going to go to batches and settlements. Now, batches and settlements is only going to be available for you in your dashboard if you are using WorldPay, because that's our preferred merchant processor. So it's integrated directly within Qgiv. So if you are using WorldPay, you'll be able to see your batches and settlements here and be able to kind of dig in and see what was deposited on what date. So Qgiv deposits once a day. And what that means is you're going to have a daily batch. Now, it might be helpful to see what that looks like because I only have one here. So I actually have this photo that I'm hoping you can see right now. And it's going to show you what a real batches and settlements report looks like. So you can see we have our dates here. If we were to click on our dates, we could see what was deposited each of those days. So what makes up that deposit? Very helpful with reconciliation. If you do not have access to WorldPay, that's going to be something that you would pull from your actual merchant processor, which you would log into separately. The next thing I want to chat about, virtual terminal. I've mentioned it a few times, but let's go ahead and click on it. You're going to find it right up here. And what this, I always call it kind of my your cash register. So this is where you can process on behalf of donors. So I'm going to come here and just choose one of my forms. And it's going to ask me, am I wanting to do a donation or a registration? I'll choose my amount, my frequency. You'll notice as soon as I choose an amount, I have access to do a credit card or an e-check. If you do have the Giving Essentials package, you can also add in those offline donations like cash or check receipt. That's very helpful if you're using a thermometer for your campaign because you want to be able to capture those so everybody can see what you've actually raised. Some of the nice features about Virtual Terminal is you have someone call you on the phone. I have 2 minutes. I want to go ahead and register or make a recommendation or pardon me, make a donation. You can fill in less within the virtual terminal than you can for your forward-facing form because you're actually the one processing. So you'll notice there aren't as many required fields here. You also have the ability to not send a receipt, to use the main receipt that you're normally using for a donation, or use something custom here if you want to say something specific to that donor. Something else that I really like here is you can put a little internal memo note. So if you need to make a note for your finance team, this is a great place to do that. That's the virtual terminal. So one last thing I want to jump into here is going to be over here. If you hover over your name, if you are an organization admin, you're going to see you have access to plans and pricing. This is where you can see all the packages available with Qgiv and what you currently have access to. If you have access, it's going to be green. If it's something that you are in the process, say for instance, you've had an auction and you've already selected for that package to end at a future date, it'll be orange. I'm all green because I work here and I have access to everything. But if I did not, I could click here and add that package for a month or quarter at a time, and it would also show the pricing available. The last thing here, support. I would highly recommend taking a look at our user community, because this is a great way to connect with other people who probably have the same questions and same challenges, not just Qgiv related, but just in what you do all day, every day. So keep in mind, we do have this user community where you can come and post and get some input from your peers. So that's about it for me, Kimber. I will go ahead and hand things back to you.
As I frantically try to unmute myself. All right. Thank you so much, Wendy. Hopefully you all are seeing my unlimited resources screen again now. Okay, so I know that was a lot, and I know for new users that might have been a lot to keep up with. Apologize if we went a little fast, but we're trying to get you in and out in 30 minutes, and we have a lot to cover. But good news is I have a lot of additional resources for you that hopefully will help fill in some of the gaps or help you get a little more in depth for the things that you'd like more information on. And we will be sending out that recording tomorrow if you want to re-review what Wendy went over. So first up, Wendy showed you how to find the user community. That is located within our help desk. The help desk has literally hundreds of articles and how-to videos. And I'm sure me just saying that just overwhelmed a lot of you, but do not worry. In tomorrow's resources email, we're going to link you to some specific resources that we think will really help you get started. Specifically, the donation forms quick start guide is one of the top resources we're going to give you, and that's going to really help you delve into your donation forms a little bit more. The help desk is also where you can submit help tickets and any enhancement ideas that you have. So if you want to get in touch directly with our support team, you can do that. There's a handy I need help link right at the top of the help desk. All right. And we also update our system bi-weekly, and you can see that right at that link that arrow is pointing at. Wendy already mentioned the user community, great place to connect with your fellow Qgiv users. And again, if you want to touch base directly with a member of our customer experience team, they're available by phone and email. You can talk to a real life person who is here in our office. In addition to sort of those direct Qgiv specific resources, we also offer a lot of additional fundraising resources. So again, from the help desk, let me actually go back so you can see this picture. You'll see that little fundraising resources icon there. If you click that, that will take you to the Qgiv website where you can access blogs, templates, ebooks, all of our upcoming and on-demand webinars, just all sorts of additional things for your fundraising. And we offer a few ongoing email communications. We try not to overwhelm you all with emails, but there are a few we'd recommend you sign up for if you're interested. One is our monthly client newsletter that has a lot of goodies specifically for you, our clients. We send out a weekly blog digest to highlight some of our blogs from the past week, and we do a monthly webinar invite. So this includes both our client-specific webinars as well as our kind of thought leader webinars. And then finally, some additional webinars that are coming up soon that we just want to let you know about. If you're hosting an auction with us anytime soon, on May 1st, we'll be going over how to do auction check-in through the virtual terminal. So this is a great way to get started managing your auctions. I highly recommend you check that out if you're planning to host an auction. And we actually had a question during your content, Wendy, about donation forms. So you're in luck. Next week, around this same time, it's also on Wednesday, we are offering a group training on donation forms specifically. So if you're interested in diving specifically into setting up your donation forms, highly recommend you sign up for that. And just a general plug for our group trainings, we're offering several of these every month. They focus on different parts of the platform. So this next one is for donation forms. We also have one coming up for event registrations. So keep an eye out for those. They're super helpful. Last couple of things for those of you who are new to the platform, we just want to make sure you know that we have solutions for all size nonprofits. So beyond those general donation forms, we have peer-to-peer and auctions, we have text fundraising, we have event management, so all sorts of things for different elements of your fundraising. And we also integrate with a lot of other softwares, including top email integrations and some of the top CRMs, including Bloomerang. So if you haven't heard, last month, Qgiv, not last month, excuse me, back in January, Qgiv joined the Bloomerang team. So we're offering a modern giving platform that puts relationships at the heart of your fundraising. This is a combined solution that unifies your donor activities. So you have the power to acquire new donors, cultivate those relationships, and really maximize the potential of your communities. So with that, let's turn to your question. We've got a lot on deck, Wendy. So here we go. Let's see what we've got. First up, Audrey asked, we saw that when we receive donations, we can see the processing fee taken out after. We're hoping that there may be a way that the processing fee is taken out of total donations prior to it making it to our bank. So Wendy, you kind of touched on this with batches and settlements, but could you talk a little bit more about kind of how processing fees work and when they're taken out and all of that?
This one is kind of just an easy answer. We can't do that. We can't take out the fee prior to deposit. That's just not how we're set up to work with fees. But they will be taken out in bulk that first week of the following month based on your processing.
Great. Thanks, Wendy. Jenna asks, can you change or add the analytic tracking to an existing form, or does it need to be done in the configuration stage before a form is live?
You can add analytics at any point, and it's very easy. Send us what you want to add, which forms you want to add it to. We'll take care of it.
Perfect. Betsy asked, and this came up, I think, when you were looking in Form Builder, Wendy, if there are any template ideas they could look at for setting up landing pages.
We don't really have templates set up. I would say every form is a little bit different, and it's going to depend on your needs. But I will tell you, and like I said, your support here with Qgiv, unlimited, free. We always have examples that we're happy to share. So maybe I can dig up a few really great client examples to also share, Kimber, in our follow-up here, so that you can see what some other folks have done too. It's always easier not to reinvent the wheel, right? So if someone's done it really well, we'll get you those examples.
Great. Thanks, Wendy. Jesse asked, and I think I can actually answer this one, Wendy, so I'm going to give it a shot. Can you have both just a form and a landing page? So Jesse says, I'd like a simple one on my homepage and then another landing page with more details. Absolutely. So you can have a single donation form that you embed on your website, and then that same form can have its own landing page if you want to really build it out. And I will add too, one of those resources I mentioned, the donation forms quick start guide that we're going to send you. One of the links in there, you're going to want to look for embedding your form. That'll take you to all of the instructions you need for how to get a code that you can then put on your website and go through that process to embed the donation form. Did I get it right,
And it's
Wendy?
way easier than it sounds.
It is. It really is. We say you need code and stuff. Like it's a lot easier than like you don't have to know HTML or something. There's also a question here. When will the migration take place with Bloomerang and Qgiv? We have an event in September and want to have it linked with our database, but right now we have access to Kindful.
Depending on kind of what you mean by that migration, we are already working with clients that are currently using Kindful that have kind of moved over to Qgiv. What I would recommend is, depending on what you need for that event, I would recommend talking to your Bloomerang rep to get a little bit more information about what that transition would look like. We would love to have you get started with Qgiv and have you get that event set up.
Right. Lisa asked if we have the Bloomerang integration, who is the actual processor? So I'm guessing you're processing donations through Qgiv, but you're also working with Bloomerang. Wendy?
That is most of the time, most of our clients are working with WorldPay just because it's that integrated processor. Unless you are using something specifically like, I don't know, authorize.net, and that was very specifically set up during your onboarding process, you're using WorldPay. Another really easy way to tell is if you see that batches and settlements within your dashboard.
Okay. Audrey asked, how do you use a card swipe on the virtual terminal?
Okay, so let's talk card readers. You probably saw that swipe card. We have a few card reader options available. The USB card reader will actually work with that virtual terminal that we took a look at today, but we also, for events or maybe, being able to take donations in person, we also have app versions of the mobile virtual terminal for Android and iOS. So we have Bluetooth card readers available that can work with those, and USB card readers available. They have to be Qgiv card readers because they're encrypted to work with only Qgiv. We can share more information about that. Those are $99 each, but they're yours to keep.
Right. Just a quick interjection here too. If there was a question here about, like, they've talked to their Bloomerang rep and they were referred to Qgiv. I think in that kind of case, maybe just contact us directly, Wendy.
Yeah,
support
absolutely,
at qgiv.com.
absolutely.
And we can work with you directly. Sorry for the back and forth on that.
Yeah, absolutely. It sometimes it's a little hard to get the nuance during these. So yeah, let us help you. We've got you.
We also had the question, do notes from the virtual terminal, those transaction notes, carry over to records in Bloomerang?
So you're talking about one of my favorite things now, which is integrations. They can. So what's nice about setting up the integration between Qgiv and Bloomerang is you have the ability to tell us what to send and where to send it. So we can help you with kind of those specifics, but yes, you can send those notes over. As long as we have a place to send it in Bloomerang, we can get it there for you.
Great. Caitlin said, on Form Builder, you had the option to add images, but that doesn't show up for me. How do we add those? So there are a few places you can add images in Form Builder. Wendy, do you want to touch on that quickly?
So it's going to be a couple different ways. So in Form Builder, you can add images to a form, like in the top content, or maybe on a landing page, you saw an image widget. If you're talking more about the example that I showed where it had the donation amount images, those are going to be in a different area, which is probably why that could be a little bit confusing. Those are going to be setting up your donation amounts. But if you're talking specifically in Form Builder, I think that you probably may have seen that on the landing page where we actually have an image gallery where you can upload images.
Great. And Form Builder is another one of the resources that's contained in that donation forms quick start guide we're going to send. So a lot more detail in that as well. Tommy asked if we can send invoices through Qgiv as a payment option.
We do have in beta an invoice option for our standard donation forms. Works really great for sponsorships. So if you want some more information about that, reach out to us and we can definitely share those details.
Caitlin says, if someone makes a donation to an event, is it connected to the donation form or the event when it's exported to Bloomerang?
Great question. So when you're telling Qgiv where to send things in Bloomerang, you have the ability to set it up at a donation form level and also at an event level. So you can say, I want this package to go to this place. I want this other package to go to a different place. You can get pretty nuanced there.
Great. Stephanie asked, what is the correct phone app to download? So this is a great question, Stephanie. If you look in the App Store for Qgiv, you will see a couple of options. So it depends on what you're trying to do. If you're hosting an auction and you want your bidders to be able to bid. That's the Qgiv app. I don't think that's what you're talking about, but I did want to point that out. That one's purple and it says Qgiv. If you're looking to do virtual terminal things like live at an event or on site, you're going to want to get the one that has a white app background. That's the one that you can manage donations, you can do event registrations. Currently, you can do auctions, but we're just about to add peer-to-peer to that as well. So that's the one I would recommend.
And by the way, why is there an extra one? Because that's the old one we're moving away from. So that's why you see that extra one there.
Yes. All right, let's see. What are CRMs? Kristen, great question. I shouldn't have just breezed past that. CRMs refers to the acronym is Constituent or Customer Relationships Manager. So it's essentially a database that keeps track of all of your information related to your donors. And I say sometimes it's customer because it's used in sales and other fields as well. But for us, it's usually constituents. Great question. How do you delete a form, not just toggle it off, Wendy?
We intentionally do not have a delete option because that could impact your batches and settlements and your reporting. So if you have a form that maybe you created an error and it doesn't have any transactions on it, happens all the time, feel free to reach out to us and we can delete it for you, but we intentionally don't have that option.
Wanda asks, can we merge our Bloomerang events with Qgiv? So I think you touched on that, Wendy. I think it was a little while back, so I'll consider that answered, but we can come back to it if we need more detail there. Also, I need to add a disclaimer in our current form that is a few sentences long. Where can I add it so that it can be shown in the form?
One of my favorite fields that we've added is the legal field. So if you're on your form and you go to your donation settings or your form settings, I'm actually going to walk along with us here. So if you go under form settings, there will be something called fields. At the very bottom, there's something called a legal field. And you can actually type that in. People will not be able to bypass that field without agreeing to it. It's a great tool.
Great. I do want to back up just one second because I want to apologize for referring to the apps by their color. That was not accessible of me, and I do apologize. So the one you're looking for, the full name of it is Qgiv Virtual Terminal, and it's categorized as a lifestyle app. The other one in there is called Qgiv Mobile Virtual Terminal, which we realize is a little bit confusing. So you're looking for the one that does not have the word mobile in the name. Let's see. Roseanne asks, can you sort by date in a form that lists multiple event dates? So if you have this is maybe the events list widget that we're talking about.
Oh, if you're listing multiple events, you can actually drag and drop to rearrange those in whatever order you want them to be, rather than have them be the order that they were added in. So yeah, you can actually just drag and drop to reorder those. No one realizes that until you do it the first time, and then it's life changing. Same thing with donation amounts, all that good stuff. Drag and drop them and put them in the order you'd like.
Great. Joseph did ask, will this training be available later? I know I've talked about the recording a couple of times, but I do want to also mention if you want to just hop on this same training again, we do offer it quarterly. So it will be coming back around. I also want to note we're approaching 45 minutes, but we still have a lot of people who had questions. So I think we're happy to stay on as long as you all want to answer questions. If anyone does need to hop, again, we're recording all of this, so you'll see all the answers when you get the recording. So as long as you're okay with that as well, Wendy.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course.
Okay, great. Jill asks, QR code friendly. We host events where we ask for donations for specific events, and we're looking for a fast way to get people to donate without a long filling out forms as they stand there kind of process. So basically the question is like, can they generate a QR code that would take them to a quick version of the donation form or something like that?
You can actually do that directly through your browser by just right-clicking on the form, and it'll create a QR code that takes them there. One thing I really love is under those same fields where I was directing someone else on how to add a legal field, you can actually disable certain fields for mobile. So those people at your event are going to be on a mobile device. So turn off the fields you don't need. Keep it simple. They scan their QR code, they're in and out, and they're done. There are a couple other recommendations that we would have for you from our team. Reach out to us. I see the next question coming. That is there a fee or hour limit to individual assistance? No. Reach out to us. We want to help. That's what we live for. So yeah.
Great. If you want to, I would also add, Wendy, about and this is probably reach out for this, but we do have ways you can kind of create custom URLs that autofill things, like autofilling the donation amount and stuff like that to make it even faster for donors. But again, we can help you out with that directly. Can we change the type from donation to tickets when integrating with Bloomerang? Everything is coming in as a donation. So I think we're talking
that's
mappings.
my favorite question, because yes, we know that is something that our teams are actually working on right now to make that a little bit more streamlined so that they are not coming through as donations anymore, but instead as events. It's not currently available, but it is coming.
Right. Denise asks, if you have Bloomerang and Qgiv and want donations to download into QuickBooks, which software is better for that?
You know, Denise, it's funny. I have clients that do both. Some clients say, you know what, we love to keep it separate. So they use both of the integrations from Qgiv and do it that way. Others say we want everything to flow we want Bloomerang to be that source of truth. So they want everything to flow through Bloomerang and then go to QuickBooks. That really is just going to be user preference, honestly.
Right. Olivia asks, can you run a report to show who your top donors are by contribution totals?
That would be more, I would think, in your CRM or client database rather than within Qgiv. We're more transaction based. So we won't like total up everything that John Smith gave for the year to see what a top donor is. We would be more like, let's see which form is bringing in the most activity, that sort of thing.
Betsy asked where to order card readers.
You know what? You're just going to send us an email, support@qgiv.com. Let us know what you need, and we can clarify the details on what works best for which device.
Yeah. Rosalie says, can you provide input into the workflow between Qgiv and Bloomerang? I'm thinking we would enter checks and continue to process EFTs, etc., through Bloomerang, but Qgiv would be where we generate receipts for online and event donations. Am I right on track with that, or do people recommend generating all acknowledgements through Qgiv?
I think you are on a great path there. It's some clients will choose to process everything through Qgiv. If it's not broken, don't fix it. You have those donors set up through Bloomerang, keep things going the way they are. Any new ones that come in, Qgiv will actually send out a receipt that you can completely customize for every single transaction. So, and then you can also within your service integration decide whether you want to mark that acknowledged or not, or if you want something additional to go out through Bloomerang.
Sarah asked if you could actually show that legal fields on screen. Wendy, if you don't mind sharing again, I'll stop sharing so that you can do that.
Absolutely, I can. So I am going to go ahead and share my screen.
And while Wendy's pulling that up, there was a question about when the auction coffee break that I mentioned is May 1st. And if you're receiving our webinar reminders or our monthly webinar invite, it should be showing up in that. But if you're not, let us know. We can get you connected with that.
Perfect. So what I'm going to do is, by the way, something I didn't mention for those of you who have hung on until now, if we come here and we see all of our forms listed, if we do go to a form, we're only going to see active forms. So it's less to kind of look through. I'm going to go to our spring campaign that we made today, and I'm going to go to my form settings, and I'm going to go to fields. So from here are all the system fields that are set up by default. I'm going to scroll all the way to the bottom, and then we have our legal field. So I can select to turn this on and then edit. You can put in any information here. It becomes required. By the way, another little tip. Remember I mentioned the mobile. We can turn certain fields off for mobile to make that QR code a little bit faster at your event. This is exactly how we would do that.
Great. I'm gonna let you keep sharing, Wendy, because I feel like we have a couple more
Yeah,
questions that are related
absolutely. Yes,
to
please.
visuals. Um, but
I'm going
sorry,
to take one real
lost
quick
it.
while you look for
Yes,
that, Kimber.
yes, please.
So we've talked about integrations. So for those of you who may want to set up an integration and haven't yet, and you're, where do I get started? Or what do you integrate with? Over here under reporting, you're going to see an area for service integrations. This will list everything we have a direct integration with. To get started, you're literally just going to click and it will tell you what it needs. So for instance, Bloomerang, you're going to log in with your credentials and you can get started right then. Other integrations may ask for something like an API that you need to get from that specific CRM prior to get started.
Great. Somebody mentioned that they're interested in setting up Apple Pay for donations. I think that's just another contact us, right, Wendy? And we can get you set up with that.
Yep. And I'm going to even give you a head start. What you'll need to get started with Apple Pay is you'll need to use WorldPay as your merchant processor. So if you see batches and settlements, you're good. And then I recommend going to Candid or GuideStar and making sure that your status is current. So you'll need a bronze level or higher basically there. So if you haven't set it up yet, just go in and set it up. It takes 2 minutes and then let us know and we can get it added for you.
Okay. Wendy, how does someone find the link to their donation form to share? It's a great question.
My goodness, that is a fantastic question. And I am embarrassed that I am just now answering it. So if we are to come over to our forms again, we can do this a couple different ways. You'll notice here, I have a form URL that I can copy. If I do that, this is the link that I'm going to share. You can also find your link by saying view form, and it's the same link right here.
Perfect. And then if you wanted to generate a QR code just from that page, you mentioned doing that, Wendy. I think that's a right click situation. Is that right?
Right click, and then it will say create QR code for this page. Another tip, I recommend doing it in the Edge browser rather than Chrome, which is what I normally use, because if you do it in Chrome, it gives you a dinosaur. And I don't know if that fits with your brand. If it does, great. If not, in Edge, it doesn't. It looks like a more standard QR code.
Great. Is there a way to not assign a ticket amount to sponsorship levels? It does not accept 0 or an A, but some of our sponsorships do not include tickets. Would you recommend for that?
There is not a way to do that. So if you're selling those sponsorships through an event form, then there's no way to say like no tickets included. It will honestly depend on your use case. That would be something we'd probably want to chat about to give you a better recommendation. There are just a lot of variables, but we might have some more options for you. So I'd recommend reaching out on that one.
We've also had the question, does Qgiv interface with accounting applications? I believe QuickBooks is the only direct integration we have for kind of accounting related
Correct.
things.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that would be QuickBooks Online. Now, Zapier, I should mention them too. If you're not familiar, Zapier kind of acts as a bridge between Qgiv and some other platforms that we don't directly integrate with. So if you're curious, I would recommend going to their website and searching and see if that's something that they offer.
Great. Oh, this is a great question. I'll take this one, Wendy, because I like this question. And then you can fill it in if I don't say everything right. So what is the relationship between forms and events? All events live under forms. So should I create a new form for every event? So you have a couple of options here. Yes, you've got the hierarchy correct. Events live under forms, but you don't have to create a new form for every event. One form can have multiple events, and each of those events can have their own, site and branding and design, however you want to do that. But some people do like to have separate forms for events. And I'm going to turn it back to Wendy to elaborate on that if you have anything else to say there.
Perfect. What I find a lot is some clients might like to share a list of their events on their website. So that's one reason they would keep all of their events on one form. So that's one reason. Other than that, I do work with a lot of organizations that say, for instance, they have 4 major events a year, and those are all on their own forms. Why do they do that? Because just like we cloned to make a new form, if I have my Kentucky Derby event every year, I can clone just my event every year and just make the updates that I want to make. So it's just a little bit easier for some teams. Honestly, there's no wrong way to do it. But yeah, everything's a form, and then the events can live within the form.
Right. Let's see. Someone mentioned that they're new to their org and not getting the same notices that someone else is getting. I think this is a notifications setting we want to be looking at.
Absolutely. So I would definitely recommend going in and making sure that you're added as a recipient here. And if you are not, get yourself set up. If you're not set up as an admin and don't have access to this, it would be something that you could reach out to an admin on your team to be able to set up, because notifications are important, right?
Absolutely. Kelly asked, what are the benefits of using WorldPay over a different processor? And sorry, that wasn't really clearly explained during onboarding, Kelly, but we can elaborate on that a bit.
So one of the benefits is, first of all, it's one less relationship you have to maintain. It's all going to be through Qgiv. So you're going to have access to it right there through your dashboard. Also, you have that combined fee. So Qgiv and WorldPay come together. It's one fee. You're not paying two separate fees. And we often find it's lower than paying two separate fees for your processor and your platform. So those are some big things. Really, relationship management is huge because it just takes one more thing off your plate.
I think it's maybe another question that could be addressed with our integration, Wendy, but is there a way where we set up a landing page with Qgiv, but the donation process is set up through Bloomerang? I ask because we have tiers for member monthly donations and need that data to be funneled into a specific campaign on Bloomerang. So yeah, I'm not sure if we could do the first part, but maybe the integration could solve that.
Let me read this one again real quick, just to make sure I understand. Okay, so basically look pretty through Qgiv, but have them actually click and process through Bloomerang. There are a couple ways. I'm going to mention the word fundraising hub to you. So when you reach out to us, mention that, because there might be a way where we can put that link there for you to make your life a little bit easier, allow you to set up a pretty page. But what I will say is, if it's something that you can set up through Qgiv to be able to filter to those specific campaigns in Bloomerang, you tell Qgiv which campaign each form or event needs to go to. So we may be able to actually do it through Qgiv, but we would want to chat with you specifically.
Great question. Here's a question that might be donor summaries, Wendy, if I'm reading it right. So are we able to set up an annual or semi-annual donation acknowledgement that totals the tax deductible amount for a donor? Would that be donor summaries?
Yes. So, so if you want to send a donor or all your donors a list of every donation that they've given through a certain time period, and you have access to the Giving Essentials plan, you do have the ability to come here to donor summaries and select that date range to send that out. And that'll be for any donations processed through Qgiv.
Right.
I would mention just really briefly, if you are putting in offline donations through Qgiv, that offline donations will not appear in a donor summary.
Good to know. Thank you. I've seen the question come up a couple more times, so I just want to make sure it's been answered about how do we embed the form on the website. So it's called a widget is how we do it. And again, there's going to be a link in your resources email tomorrow that has a link to an article that will teach you how to do that. So, and if you have any trouble,
I'm going to take 30 seconds and I'm going to do just a real quick version. Let's pretend we are going to embed our form right here on this person's website. They're getting all set up. All I'm going to do is come down here to my settings and under widgets. From here, I'm going to say I want to add a new one because we're setting up a widget to embed this on your form. I'm going to select my form that I want to embed right from my drop down. I can label it and maybe even make it make sense. And then the page URL. I'm going to choose the page where I want it to live on my website. and I'm going to put it right here. Once I save, Qgiv made the HTML code for me. I literally click, highlight, have your team, or you can put it on the back end of your website, and there your form lives.
Perfect. See how so easy. So easy. I just wanted to share this. This is just a little tip from Natty that QR Code Monkey is a great QR code generator, and you can completely brand the QR code. How helpful. Thank you.
I am going to write that one down.
Yeah, that's great. Speaking of giving essentials, how do we know if we have giving essentials? So there's a couple of ways you can tell. If you can access that plans and pricing page that Wendy showed, you go up there, and yeah, click plans and pricing up there. It'll show up right there. There's also some clues. If you're under reporting and you see donor summary or service integrations, that's a hint, right? That those won't show up if you don't have giving essentials. So there's some couple of different ways you can tell. I think we're down to our last couple of questions. Oh, I think I skipped one accidentally. How to get to the virtual terminal, and you're hovering your mouse right over it, Wendy. So, or no, my mouse is hovering over it. It's right there at the top.
Yeah, that one hides. So I probably went to that one a little quickly. That's going to be right up at the top next to your support button.
Perfect. Thank you. Is it possible to merge forms? Don't think so, but Wendy, any thoughts on that?
No way to merge forms, but say for instance, you set something up on a form that you want to put on a different form. You can always clone what you've done on one form to a new one to just kind of help yourself jumpstart, but I'm not sure of your use case there.
And the last question that I see, unless any more come in, is what's the difference between Giving Plus and Giving Essentials? So for those of you who are not currently Bloomerang clients, we hope you'll consider joining us. Giving Plus is a combined solution between Bloomerang and Qgiv, and it does include, I believe, all of the elements of Giving Essentials as well as some other things. Is that right, Wendy?
Correct. You're exactly right.
Yeah. So if you have Giving Plus, then you have Giving Essentials. Oh, got another one. Keep them coming. We're still here. Can you create an event form from an event that's attached to the donation form? So the event, again, the event lives within the donation form. And Wendy, do you want to maybe elaborate on that?
Yeah. So short answer, Tracy, is going to be yes. So if I were to come here under manage form, you'll see we have the ability to set up events here. If I come in here and set up an event and then I share my link, it's going to have access to the donation and then an ability to click to see the event form too. That's something you can disable, but if you want them both available in basically one link, yes.
Right. Well, I think we've reached the end of our questions. Thank you all so much to those of you who hung on this long. This was a great chat, and we hope that it's been useful to you.
Absolutely. There's so much to cover. And I know I went fast trying to get every single detail for kind of the basics, but there's so much to share. Again, call us, email us. We want to help.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you again, and enjoy the rest of your day. We'll see you online.
Thank you so much.